Welcome to another edition of the Mo Show Live, everybody. Hey, I'm Morris Lilienthal. All right, so if you follow me on social or if you know me, I love pets and love animals and love being around animals. Grew up in the country and have always just kind of grown up around animals. And if you follow me on social, you're going to see a picture of Winston, our 8-pound miniature Dachshund, at least once or twice a week, or a video. He runs the house. Everybody loves him. Even though my son thinks he runs the house, it's really Winston. We all know it. And there's a constant battle between my 11-year-old and my dog as to who's the most rotten in the house. But Winston's very lucky. There are a lot of other little fur babies out there, cats and kittens and dogs, that need a forever home. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm super excited to have on as our guests Ann Caldwell and Spencer Batcheller from the Greater Huntsville Humane Society to talk about their organization and to talk about their mission and talk about all the great things that are going on out there and how you, our audience, can help. There's a lot of different ways you can help, and we're going to talk about some of those things. And so I'm looking forward to it. Ann is the Chief Executive Officer of the Greater Huntsville Humane Society, and Spencer is the Chief Operations Officer. Ann and Spencer, thanks for taking time today. How are y'all doing?
Good. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, doing really good. Echoing what she said, thank you for having us.
Well, I'm excited to do this. I've heard a lot of great things about your organization, and I truly mean that. We're pet people at my house, and we love pups and animals, and I'm excited to kind of share out a little bit about your organization. If you're watching the show live today and you've got questions or comments, put them in Facebook if you're watching on Facebook, if you put them in Twitter, if you're watching on Twitter. If you're getting the show like a lot of people do, which is on the recorded podcast or watching a replay, put comments in there, and we'll still watch those comments after the fact and try to get you some feedback if you've got questions or want more information about the Humane Society. But we hope to answer a lot of questions today and maybe hope to find some homes for some fur babies today. So guys, I guess the first question I've got is just kind of, can one of you or both of you kind of chime in and give our audience just a little bit of an idea of the organization, an overview, a big 10,000 foot view of what you do. We're going to kind of go into each program as we talked before we went live about the specifics at the Humane Society, but give us a little bit about where you're located and your mission statement and what you're trying to do with the Humane Society here in Huntsville.
Yeah, so I will kind of give an overview, and then of course, Spencer, feel free to chime in. We are located on Johnson Road. We have been there for, I think close to 30 years. We've been around for over 50 years. We celebrated our 50th anniversary back in 2019. So an established organization for sure. We exist, to put it simply, to basically put an end to homelessness within pets, within the animal world. So we do that through a variety of different ways. Of course, the first thing that people think of usually when they think of us or any animal welfare organization is the adoptions and the fosters and things like that. We certainly do that. But we also try to come at it from a few different angles. We try to also educate our community and proactively get ahead of the reasons behind homelessness. So we'll get into the programs, I'm sure, a little bit later, but we also really do try to do more than just find homes. We try to get to the root of why animals are homeless in our area. So it's a big job. It's a heavy job, but I know I speak for not just Spencer and myself, but the whole GHHS team when I say that we all really love what we do. So
yeah, well, I don't think you'd be doing it if you didn't, and I'm sure the benefits and the rewards probably of finding a forever home and seeing people light up when they find the right match with that right pet, and it's I'm sure it's rewarding. Spencer, anything else you want to kind of share initially about what the organization does that add to what Ann was saying?
Really, you pretty hit it on the nail on the head there. The only other thing really that we do outside of just our own home is we do serve 6 counties in North Alabama. So it's not just our home base that we try to help. We get the opportunity. We will go as far as to the Georgia borderline, to the Mississippi borderline to help shelters, families, and pets in need throughout our programs and just providing education and assistance.
Well, that is interesting too, because that is well, as we if you're from North Alabama, or folks, if you're tuning in outside of the state, North Alabama is growing just crazy. The latest census and the information, the counties here in Huntsville, city of Madison, Limestone County was the fastest growing county, I think, in the census data that just came out. So Spencer's talking about that his organization is servicing a really growing, rapidly growing area. And so I'm sure there's a great need for that. So I guess you kind of started, Ann, talking about kind of where we kind of first fall, and I certainly want to follow up on what you're talking about with homelessness and kind of see, you know, what some of the root causes are that you guys are trying to attack. But let's start with the adoption process, and can you kind of give us an overview of what this process entails and how animals typically come in, or how people contact you about animals that maybe need a home, and y'all gonna end up taking the animals in to find a forever home for them? Kind of talk to us a little bit about that. And as you do, I'm going to see if I don't mess it up. I'm going to try to share my screen and show the adoption page on your website.
Sure. I don't mind speaking on that.
Yeah.
The kind of our adoption process is we do have our website that will be shown here shortly, and all of our adoptable animals will be available for adoption through there. You can find out more information and send in an application through the website. It is an application process, and once filled out, you'll be invited down to meet the animal if you have not already, and speak with adoption counselor to proceed with your application. A lot of our animals come from, and we do have the North Alabama is one of the largest rehoming programs at our shelter. So if there are families that lost their home to, let's say, a fire, someone's getting deployed, they fell on really hard times and they can no longer provide a safe, loving home for their pet, they will rely on our rehome program to do so. Outside of owner surrenders and helping families that need it, we pull from what you would say high kill shelters in the county. A lot of county and city shelters are open intake, and they have to take when they come in. With that being said, there's not always a kennel available for those animals that come in. So we really try to prioritize the counties surrounding ours, and especially our home base. And if those areas are having trouble, we will go pick up. Sometimes we picked up 20 animals, sometimes we pick up 5, and it will help that county kind of achieve less euthanasia rates numbers, and then we can save more lives that way.
Absolutely.
The last big ones that we've done, I think it was 57 animals in the last 70 days. We worked 3 major hoarding situations, and there were one case, there's 35 dogs in an outside pet kennel. There was one with 27 cats in a 1-bedroom house. And there was another one where there was about 27 small dogs in an outdoor situation. So a lot of the times, what's kind of fortunate is that some law enforcement or animal control, sometimes people are within the law of keeping animals in some kind of situations like that. So if they cannot be stopped or accept resources, kind of what has worked for the Humane Society is we have been able to kind of go in and offer no judgment and offer help. You know, we're not here to judge you. We're not here to put you in jail. We are here solely to help the animals in need, whether that's providing spay and neuter services, providing some slight vet care, using our programs really to help stop situations like that from arising. And I would say about 80% of the time, most people are very receptive to accepting the help. And I don't think we've done probably 10 major hoarding cases in the last year.
Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit, and you were talking about this a little bit earlier. What are some of the major reasons that you guys are seeing a need for animals to come into the shelter, and what are some of the concerns that are out here in our North Alabama community, and this may apply across the board, across the country, and what can we do, and what are you guys trying to do to prevent those things from occurring?
Yeah, so there's a lot happening right now across the board, of course, with COVID-19, the fallout from the pandemic. We actually saw kind of a positive increase in adoptions and in interest in fostering in the beginning of the pandemic. Everybody was at home. I think a lot of people were thinking this is the perfect time to go get a pet or try a pet.
Right.
So we were actually able to clear our shelter out 3 times in 2020, this time last year. And now, unfortunately, what we're seeing is sort of a backlog, I think. I think there's adoptions are down, not just for us, but we've heard, from other organizations and across the country. I think adoptions are just a little bit down right now. So that, I think, is the biggest thing right now, that is sort of the most current problem. But of course, COVID-19 is sort of, an outlier. That's obviously not a typical year for animal welfare. So prior to COVID, we saw things more like some of the things that Spencer touched on a little bit. So maybe someone lost their job. They weren't able to provide care for the pet anymore. That's where some of our programs would come in. Instead of just taking their animal away or assuming that they want to give their animal away, we will try to help them keep their animal by providing things like vet services, food, things like that. Yeah. We don't want those animals to end up on the street. We don't want them to end up as strays. So we try to kind of get ahead of the problem. Another common one that we see a lot are, and especially again now with COVID-19, the housing crisis that has kind of followed COVID-19. A lot of people are really strapped for just living accommodations. There's obviously been some protections as far as evictions go and things like that, but we're seeing a lot of people who either don't have their home anymore, or they've had to move to an apartment that doesn't allow pets, or they've had to move in with a family member, and the family member that they've moved in with is allergic or it doesn't get along with their pet. So there's a lot of really unique things that are happening right now that are certainly new to the world, but also the world of animal welfare. We're trying to kind of adapt and rework our programs so that they're not just usable by our normal standards, but also by today's standards. So, for example, with our King's Kitchen program, I keep referencing, that we give out food. We had to turn that into a drive-through. So that's just one sort of small example. We used to allow people to come in and just load their car and, almost like walk into our annex is what it's called, the kind of storage in the back, and walk in and grab their food. But now it's a drive-through, which is arguably a lot more efficient and fast anyway. But we're always kind of looking for ways to improve and keep our programs current with things that are happening right now.
100%. Well, no doubt the pandemic has changed a lot of things negatively, but there are some positive things that are coming out of it that in a lot of different settings, and it sounds like certainly that may be one that from at least an initial rush, the shelter cleaned out and figuring out how to maybe hand out the food a little more efficiently.
And of course, there's also the big issue just in the South that has been around for years and years, not new, not anything to do with the pandemic, but just the whole issue of spaying and neutering your pets. Mm-hmm. Spencer can probably speak even more passionately and knowledgeably about that part than I can, but I would say that's probably, in my opinion, the biggest cause of homelessness in our area, in the South specifically. Yeah.
Well, how many animals do you typically are now? Let's say now, I know we were kind of looking at the screen. I don't know if that's all the animals that are up for adoption right now, but Spencer, how many animals do you typically have right now? Are you seeing up for adoption at y'all's shelter?
On an average, we typically have about between 50 and 70 animals available for adoption. We do only actually have about 18 dog kennels and 18 cat kennels. And that is for like large dogs. We have some smaller dog kennels, but if we did not have the amazing foster homes that we do, we wouldn't be able to achieve that number. And hopefully in the future, we'll be able to up that number with some future renovations. But on average, that's what we have about daily. We're averaging about 1,000, 1,100 adoptions a year.
Wow. Well, just real quickly, because I want to touch on the foster subject and hit some other subjects too, but tell everybody, if somebody is looking, because when I was just flipping through, different folks have different needs, and some people may have, like you were referencing, and that maybe you're at an issue, but you may have some people that are looking to adopt an animal that maybe they're in a smaller home, or maybe they're a little older and they want a smaller animal. Maybe they want a smaller cat or a cat or a dog as opposed to a large. But you guys have, larger animals too. So talk a little bit about kind of, what the adoption process is if somebody's looking to find a new pet to bring into their family. Talk a little bit about real quick what one of y'all want to take the lead on that, what the process is when they come in to try to adopt an animal.
I would recommend, and I tell everybody, to stop on in the shelter. Our foster program really focuses on medical or behavioral cases. If we have dogs that come in really bad condition, we'd rather them heal up in a foster home. We have nursing mothers, we'd rather have them in a foster home. Mm-hmm. But for adopters willing to come down and see, I really urge them to come down and meet the animal. Talk to an adoption counselor about what their needs are as the human, and so we can help best pair some of our dogs with them and get them to know them. They can go on little walks. We have huge dog parks out on the other end of our driveway, and the potential adopters, are more than welcome to go out there and play with them, socialize with them. A lot of people who want pets actually have other pets already. So we do recommend that if you do find an animal that you like and you're wanting to try it out, we suggest that we do a meet and greet. We have staff that are on site that will help the adopters, and will introduce the dogs just to make sure they get along and give them the best resources and tools they have to make it work.
Yeah, you want to make sure it's a good fit for the family, the pet being adopted, and for the pets that may already be in the home and you certainly want them to stay, and you don't want them to end up back, in your shelter or on the street or somewhere else. You want to make sure that it's the right fit. First time.
We do. That was, you kind of touched on it. Something that I was challenging was giving the adopters more tools and resources they need for animals, because sometimes you really don't know what the history was on the animal. So what we have done here at the Humane Society is worked with a couple trainers that discounted services to our adopters. And there's even one about 2 free hours to every adopter if they would like to utilize that certificate, just because a lot of times there's a honeymoon stage when you take home an animal, and then after that honeymoon stage you kind of figure out more about the animal, and so we want to be able to provide that resource for our adopters so they don't have to bring them back, and we're here to help you.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that's great, and that's great that the trainers offer that, and I may have to hit you up after this. Winston may need a little training and see if I can get something there. But talk to us a little bit about the foster situation. You kind of touched on it, but just I want to kind of encapsulate that conversation. So you guys have, I guess, volunteers that are animal lovers and that have agreed that animals that maybe are nursing or recovering from injuries, that they've agreed to, for a period of time, to kind of be a foster parent to these animals to help nurture them until there's a forever home. Is that kind of how the process works?
Yeah, pretty much. Sometimes, depending on the situation, it might be a 2 to 3 week foster and they bring them back. What's unique about our organization is that not the other organizations in North Alabama, they don't have brick and mortar like we do. And a lot of them are foster-based rescues, where we have, luxury of people coming in and out of our door every single day looking for pets. So when we really send our animals to foster, it is for a certain time frame.
Okay.
It can be behavioral too. The shelter is a really scary place, especially, we try our very best to make sure it's not. In fact, I think now all of our animal care staff are what's called fear-free certified. So we do our best, but that's not to say that it's not a scary place, especially for those owner surrenders, those owned pets that have been, in a home with one person for their whole lives, and they go to this shelter all of a sudden, and it's loud, and there's people walking in and out, and they're in a cage. So it can also be behavioral. So sometimes the shelter is just not a good place for this pet. Maybe they're developing some aggression, or they're not showing well to adopters because they're stressed. So it can be medical, but it can also be behavioral. We do try to get them out if they're showing a lot of signs of fear and anxiety in the shelter.
Yeah, well, it's kind of what Spencer said earlier too. You don't always know the history of that animal and some animals may have some history that being in that kind of environment may be a little bit more taxing on them and do. Folks, if you're just joining us on this episode of the Mo Show Live, we are speaking with Ann Caldwell and Spencer Batcheller from the Greater Huntsville Humane Society, and we've been talking a little bit about the mission of the society and the adoption process and foster process. And I want to talk a little bit more about what they're doing in the community, and we've kind of touched on this if you've been listening already. But they have some programs to help folks to try to keep pets in place so they don't need to go into a shelter like this and look for a new home, and to help some folks that maybe are having a little bit down on their luck and need some help loving on their pets and to make sure the pets are getting the right care and treatment that we know all animals deserve. So you mentioned one earlier, I think, Ann, and that was the community kitchen. So you guys have a program that if there are pet owners out in our community that want to keep their animals, but maybe are having a little bit of downtime, especially in today's economy with, maybe with COVID and some other issues, and they need some help with maybe food and supplies, you guys offer that through the shelter, correct?
We do, yeah. So it's we do distributions twice a month. It's called King's Community Kitchen, just like you said. And basically, we just ask people to provide proof of need. So they have to be below a certain income level. Okay. And if their pets are not neutered or not fixed, we always, try to make sure we get that taken care of too. So it's a great kind of first line defense. A lot of times if they come to us for food, they usually, also need something else. So maybe they'll be picking up some food and then they're, kind of learning about what else we do. And they end up also getting heartworm prevention, or they end up also getting their animals spayed, or at least learning about those things. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a wonderful program. And it's also kind of like our first line of defense. We try to, keep that one well publicized. We want to make sure that people know that it's not a judgmental or shameful thing to do to come and ask for food. We try to make it fun and like I said, just sort of inclusive. And if we can help somebody keep the pet in their home, we want to do that.
Absolutely. And along those lines, similar to what you're saying, you guys also offer a similar service, and it sounds like you've got some vets that either discounted rates or donate time and you guys have a pet wellness clinic that your organization offers. And Spencer, and if y'all want to touch on that just a little bit and how that service works.
So yes, we have the Gail Henley Memorial Wellness Clinic, and we host that once a month on site. It is the second Saturday from 9 to 1. And what that is it doesn't really they don't see sick animals, or they don't do any surgeries, but it is preventative reasons. So getting animals up to date on their vaccines, giving them a wellness exam, getting them on flea and tick and heartworm prevention. So later it kind of gets ahead of the game there. So down the road, if their dog needs a heartworm the treatment, that can cost a normal individual anywhere between $900 and $1,800 just for that treatment. So if we can get families on these preventatives, and then later down the road, they don't have to come back to us to either surrender their dog or ask for money to help get their treatment done. And again, just basic immunizations on pets is very, very important. So it is very heavily discounted for individuals to come. And Rocket City Mobile Vet is providing that service on our ground now. Kind of along, you were talking about the vets. We talked a little bit about our community day. Last July was our second annual community day. That is kind of a day we bring all of our resources to one day or a couple weekends in the month of July. July is National Loss Awareness, and we started a microchipping clinic here on site. So families that really can't afford a microchip or afford to get it registered, we have a clinic that is for $15. They can get a microchip, and it does not cost anything to update, transfer, to register. And we've microchipped a lot of pets that way and help give preventatives. Once again, if they get out, run in the streets, they end up at a clinic, a vet, we can help rehome, get those pets back in their home.
Yeah, relocate, get them back home. Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic. And we touched on earlier, talk a little bit about, I think, from what I gather from reviewing the website and such, is that a large part of what your organization is able to accomplish is done by volunteers. Talk a little bit about, what role volunteers play, and if somebody wants to roll their sleeves up and come help, or have got some free time and they want to help, how they can help you guys.
Yeah, I often say actually that because of COVID-19, our volunteer program was, I think, the one that took the biggest hit. I'd be lying if I said that it wasn't also financials and, lowered adoptions and things like that. But the volunteer program really took a hit as well, which totally understand. People weren't comfortable coming in and all that. So the fostering was kind of a natural way to keep people safe in their homes as well. But now that we are back open, we do, encourage mask wearing and social distancing and all that, but we are confident that it's safe to come and volunteer with us now. So yes, we would love to have people come in. They are really the lifeblood of what we do. We quite honestly couldn't do what we do without our fosters and volunteers. And there are opportunities for young people who are just sort of learning to be comfortable around animals all the way up. And there are people who, maybe they're not even comfortable being around shelter pets. They want to volunteer in our thrift store. There truly is an opportunity for everyone. So our youngest volunteers usually are school-aged kids. They take advantage of a program called Pause for Reading, which basically is reading to shelter pets. It's kind of mutually beneficial because, who's going to be nervous reading aloud to a puppy or a kitten, right? It's not nearly as nerve-wracking as a classroom, or if a child is struggling, it kind of takes the shame and the fear and anxiety out of learning to read. So it's beneficial to the kids, also sort of introduces them to being around animals. Maybe they're thinking of becoming a pet owner in the future, or their parents want to expose them to it before they adopt. And then, of course, it benefits the shelter pets as well. It helps them get socialized and not be bored and have a good time in the shelter. So those are sort of our first youngest volunteer opportunities. And then, like I said, they go all the way up to dog walkers, front desk help, thrift store help, cashier at the thrift store. Gosh, what am I forgetting, Spencer? I think pretty much any need that you can think of, we probably need a volunteer to help us with it.
Every avenue do have went down, it has always been on the foundation of our volunteers making it and helping us through it.
Tell us, you mentioned the thrift store. Tell our audience what that is.
Go ahead, Ann.
Yeah, it's really exciting. We just actually moved our thrift store. It used to be on site right behind the shelter. We moved it to 650 Pratt Avenue. And we sort of rebranded it, renamed it. It's a bigger building. It's now called Three Tails Resale, a GHHS store. You can't miss it. The logo is three little tails, a dog, a cat, and a bunny. So you're driving down Pratt and you'll see it. It is usually about a third of our income, honestly. So it's a big moneymaker for us. Obviously, it's just net profit. People donate things to us and we're able to sell it. And then what we sell it for goes right back into our programs and our operation costs. One of the things that, I think a lot of people, if anybody, who's maybe a little nervous, I can't be around the animals. It makes me too sad. I can't walk in and see them in the cages. It makes me upset. I get that, but there's still a desire to help. So the thrift store is kind of a perfect opportunity for maybe some people who have a heart for animals, but don't quite want to be in the weeds and see the animals that are mistreated or be there with them. But it's a huge moneymaker for us. It's also a big volunteer opportunity for us. And because of that move, we're able to start doing some really big things at the shelter. So I'll let Spencer talk about that because that's kind of his baby and his big passion project. But moving the thrift store off site is about to open some really big doors for us.
That's awesome. So Spencer, tell us what's on the horizon.
The old thrift store building in the property is, correct me if I'm wrong, Ann, but it's like between 4,000 to 5,000 square feet. And it will be the new building that will house more animals. Actually, we are looking to up our numbers and animals saved and get a better reach to the community. So we hope to increase our number of animals saved with having more kennel space, birthing pods, areas for quarantined animals. If they come in with either parvo, sarcoptic mange, things like that, we can be better equipped. Part of that building also will house Alabama, and the first in Alabama and the whole southern eastern region of the United States. We will be opening a FIV and FELV sanctuary for cats. The closest one is in Texas and North Carolina. And that resource for us opening here is going to be huge, not only for North Alabama, but the entire state and the surrounding states as well. For some of those who don't know, FIV is an autoimmune deficiency. It's a virus that they can contract from blood, a deep bite wound, and then FELV is pretty much leukemia cats. They both can be adopted. They both can live great lives. And that is kind of not the stigma that's in the South, what I've found out. A lot of areas, unfortunately, do euthanize, but come to find out it's because they don't have a resource. And we hope to be that resource and help that education. And I really, really hope it starts a chain reaction in the South.
That's great, Nate. That's fantastic. I'm excited to hear that, and it's a great resource for our community and the surrounding communities to have that and to have that out there. And folks, so if you're looking to go shopping and do some thrift store shopping then why not choose the Greater Huntsville Humane Society's thrift store, the Three Tails thrift store on Pratt Avenue to do that, because you're going to find some great things and serve a great cause at the same time. Guys, as we wrap up here, I know one thing that I noticed, and I was speaking with you guys before we went live, that you've got an upcoming event coming up, a golf tournament, or Spencer, whoever may know more about that, can you tell us a little bit about that upcoming fundraiser and event?
Yes, it's our second annual GHHS Classic. We did it for the first time last year, and it was pretty successful, so we decided to bring it back again. Basically, it's in October, October 25th. You can register on our website. It's a golf scramble, so you can enter a team of 3. We also have sponsorship opportunities. So if your company or you as an individual are interested in sponsoring a hole or sponsoring a prize, those opportunities are available as well if you're not a golfer but still want to support. And it's obviously all for a great cause. 100% of the proceeds will go back to our mission and our programs. It's going to be at Valley Hill, and they hosted us last year. They were wonderful. So we're looking forward to another great event, and hopefully we have a good turnout for it. I think people are ready to get out and kind of get back to some normalcy, and golf is sort of a great way to do that. It's outside, spread out, calm, for a good cause. So we hope a lot of people come out.
Yeah, I know we got a lot of golfers out there, so check out right here. There's the website, and I know when I went on the website earlier today, it's prominently displayed right there, and it's an easy link to click over to kind of register a team to do that. So you still got some time to do that. It sounds like a little bit over a month out. So folks, check that out if you're a golfer and you want to support the Humane Society and kind of get a fun round of golf in and help them out as well. All right, so as we wrap up, I got one fun question. So this was a question that I posted on my social media about a week ago, and I did a video, and I got about 30 or 40 comments on this question. I was concerned that I was kind of thinking, maybe I'm a little strange. Am I the only person that if they leave home and do they turn on TV or music for their pet? Because no. I turn on the radio for Winston every day when I leave, because I'm usually the last one to leave the house because my wife leaves early for school with my son. And everybody, except for maybe 1 or 2 comments, and I got cartoons, I got the Weather Channel, right? And I need professional opinions here. What do you think? Do you turn on TV or music or something for your pets at home?
I do. I totally do. We also do it at the shelter. So we have this is actually a great segue to promote one of our partners. So we have Dog TV is actually a streaming service specifically for pets, and we have a coupon code. I'll send it or put it in the chat or something to share with you
Yeah,
guys.
we'll put it in the comments below the video.
Yeah, they supported our dog ball, another event last year. But basically, it's yes, it is proven that it'll kind of help with boredom. It helps with separation anxiety. It's yeah, no, you're not crazy. I'm a big fan of it. We use it at the shelter, and I know we use it in our cat room too. We always have a TV running for the cats. So personally, my little dog, I have a miniature pinscher. We couldn't go this whole podcast without me mentioning Randy. Randy is a little terror. I mean, bless him. I love him. He loves me. Does not love anyone else in the world. And yeah, if I didn't turn the television on for him when I left every day, I think I would come home to a destroyed house. So yeah,
love it. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to feel that I'm fitting in. I did not know there was dog TV, so I haven't checked that off my list. Spencer, what about you as we wrap up?
I was just going to say, it is scientifically proven that it does help, but they do benefit from it.
So if anybody gives you grief, you tell them you heard it here first. It's proven.
Yes, I love it. Well, folks, if you're watching and you want to support and learn more, I think the best place to do is probably one of the great things is check out their website. Certainly you can call, as Spencer said earlier, if you're looking to adopt. And I agree. I think probably the best thing to do is maybe just find a time that's convenient and check and see and go down and kind of have a look and meet with an adoption counselor and kind of explore that and see what your needs are and what they recommend and go from there. The other thing I'd recommend doing is follow them on social media. Everything the Facebook and Instagram looks like it's at GHHS Pets. So you can follow the Greater Huntsville Humane Society there on social media and and Spencer, thank you all for all you're doing for our community and the pets in our community. You're really doing a great job to rescue a lot of pets, and not only rescue the pets, but to provide a lot of joy to a lot of homes for people that are taking these pets in, because as we were just kind of laughing and smiling, these animals become part of our family. And there's no doubt about it, and you guys are making that happen on a daily basis. And so thank you for all you're doing for our community. And folks, if you want to help out, you can volunteer. I know they'll take donations. Shop at the thrift store. Share this feed out, and then follow them on social media and share out things there and help get the word out. And Spencer, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.